Today, we have a learning goal. We're going to generate a list of things people do on the internet and categorize them to identify broad topics to guide our inquiry. We want to remember that our essential question is here. How has the internet changed our lives? So we'll generate a list of things people do on the internet and categorize them to identify broad topics to guide our inquiry. What I'm most interested in having happen today and seeing that students can be able to do is think about the ways people use the internet, kind of start with ourselves, and then start to categorize those. Think about what does that suggest? If I use the internet in certain ways, what does that suggest about how things have changed as a result of the internet? So I would say successful work today would show that you could identify and contribute to possible answers, and you can work collaboratively with peers to classify your answers and reflect on the changes. So maybe I'll add that. I'm gonna reflect on essential questions. Okay, so I want to model that very quickly. So I'm going to start with me. How do I use the internet? Well, I use Spotify. And Spotify gives me free access to music, which allows me to sort and search. So I like Spotify because if I think of an artist I like, I don't have to buy the music. I can just search for that artist, see all their albums, and create playlists all for free. Another thing I use on the internet is iTunes. iTunes allows me to buy parts of albums or albums, and it also allows me to manage my music between devices. So I guess iTunes itself is a program, but I shop online and I have to connect to iTunes Store. So as I start to think about, so what's the change? If I want to classify these two uses of the internet for me, I think about how the music industry is changing. And which also makes me think that media in general is changing. If I think about TV, radio, what we hear on the radio, that kind of thing. And the other thing this makes me think with iTunes is that the internet's kind of changed shopping. I also think that with music changing, the interesting thing about how music has changed and media has changed is that with the music industry in particular, the product, what used to be a record and then became tapes, the product has become digitized. So the internet allows rapid access to the product. So this industry has changed in a lot of ways because the product itself has changed. So I'm going to write that digitized product. And then when I think about media changing, I definitely think, it's also changed TV and film. So now I've done my brainstorming. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ideas. And I can think about how I want to categorize them. So the specific tool use, got Spotify and iTunes. These are related and kind of close together. I think the idea of media changing is kind of a big idea. It's sort of over all of these ideas. The music industry is something that probably could help focus my research. I could imagine that in a short time span like we have for this product or for this project, I could look more into the way the music industry has changed. Shopping, I think shopping is probably about as big as media. So I'm going to have that separate, but I definitely see iTunes as connected. And then TV and film, probably going to go, it's going to be about the same size to me as music industry, but that's off here. Related to media. Okay, so what you saw me do was brainstorm first and then think about sort of the size and scale of the things I came up with and their relationships. So what I'll ask you to do today is follow the same process when you're brainstorming. First, you'll do this quickly independently. Then you'll confer with some group members. Then you'll return to your lists, replicate this process again, and then finally we'll put this on a big chart for everyone to see, and we'll hopefully have about 4 groups, 4 charts, and your chart may look a little bit like this.